welcome. Week 14 Offsides YouTube viewers. We're going to talk about some of the games that we saw this week. And there's a lot of definite games that were challenging because of the weather. And then we're also going to have a quick discussion, well, actually not so quick, about some of the teams that we think need to make some certain moves in order to be contenders. I got Tiger Woods left the building, and now Rolf is back, so that's great. We also have Randy, but he's rocking out the Shannon Sharp jersey, and we have myself, Need to Shave Mike. And so here we go. First game I like to discuss is Miami-Pittsburgh. Now Miami coming to Pittsburgh. Obviously on the line for Pittsburgh, we need to win games in order to make the playoffs. Need to make this happen. They come up short at home. Tannehill looked really good. A couple hundred yards passing, also 3 touches. Roethlisberger, though, had a good game. 349 yards, touchdown passes. The main thing that I saw, though, just by looking at just the stat line, but also seeing some of the highlights, is that from the Dolphins, we talked about they need more than just, relying on whatever to happen with the offense in order to put points on the board in order to be successful. And actually the running back did great, 105 yards rushing, 1 touchdown. And then the thing that you were missing from Pittsburgh was, inept 60 yards rushing from the running back there. Obviously set them back. Miami, I don't know if they're good enough to win this last playoff seat, to be honest, but I don't even know what we have to take away from this game besides both these teams need a lot of work. And when it comes to the end of the day, both the teams were both in the wild card contention. I think Miami's still in it. I don't know if Pittsburgh's still in it.
Pittsburgh still has an outside shot.
Outside chance. If this team loses, this team ties, and that team goes home, they can maybe go in.
No, there's a lot more teams that have to. It's not just 3. There's like 4 or 5 more teams that are.
Sorry, Pittsburgh fans. You guys have a math equation
to
figure out. So I don't know. I don't know. Even if any of these teams remotely make the last wildcard spot, after seeing what I saw in this game of going back and forth, and obviously they're both fighting to get this, in the playoffs. I don't know how far they go anyway. They just didn't look that good from both sides of the ball. I don't know. I don't see Miami doing much. I don't see Pittsburgh doing much. Even though Pittsburgh usually tends to be a more dominant factor throughout the years. This year, they got Mike Tomlin trying to pick up and tackle the kick returners on the other games. So,
they need some more of that.
Right.
He needed to stand on the sideline to kind of say, this is where the sideline is. Don't step out to your ground.
On the field. Yeah. But, I don't know. I don't see any of these teams challenging any of the teams in the AFC at all when it comes to, we're talking about the playoff picture and the real picture, because all these games obviously now are really counting toward if you get in the playoffs or trying to get in the playoffs. And we look at these two teams, and I just don't see that either fire B coaching, a great coaching. Miami's been dealing with the Martin thing, right? The locker room thing. Pittsburgh's been dealing with obviously the last antics of Tomlin. I don't know. I don't see the defenses firing off. I don't see. I don't know.
I think they're lacking a lot of talent. So I think Miami's doing great for what they have. What they have.
Yeah.
I think their coaching is just fine. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, they've got aging talent.
Aging talent. Yeah.
So
yeah.
That could be. I'm guessing that's the problem right there.
Yeah.
Is that they're just aging.
They're just aging. They just need some new blood in there, and then to see what happens. What's your take on either one of these teams?
Well, really, right now, any of the teams that go into, if you look at it this way, any team that's in that little mix right now for that 6th seed, they have to face Cincinnati in the first round. Right. They're not going to beat Cincinnati. Yeah. None of those teams that are in that mix, Miami, Pittsburgh, the Jets, any of those teams, none of them are going to beat Cincinnati.
And even if
you want to be the 5th seed because you want to face Indianapolis, because Indianapolis right now looks terrible as a division winner.
They look beatable, I guess.
Yeah, and it's like Kansas City can go into Indianapolis and it looks like they could stomp on them. So that's who you want to play, but you don't want to play Cincinnati in Cincinnati.
Plus, if you're that 6th seed, even if you beat Cincinnati, you're up against Denver next.
Yeah, you're next.
You might as well throw the towel.
Yeah.
But and then you got to figure Cincinnati also has the record for the coldest game ever in NFL history. So you could be going into, you're the 6th seed, you got to go into Cincinnati. You could be facing some very cold weather.
Yeah.
It's not a pleasant place to play or against that team. They're playing as one of the better teams. They're probably the third best team right now in the AFC.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just tough. And we'll talk about it in the other game, Kansas City and Washington. And we brought up Kansas City, and wow, I mean, they put up some serious points. Obviously, they had 2 scores for special teams, which is something that when they played against Denver for 2 weeks, but it's something about them. McCluster can light you up. That they have opportunities there. I feel that they're a better coach team with Andy Reid. It shows, I think, in the way they play the game. And in this game, what really stood out for me was honestly not how bad KC gave it to them, but how bad Washington responded.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a team we all thought was going to be a contender. Like someone we were going to talk about and be like, well, the Redskins are leading this.
Randy thought they were contender.
Yeah, I thought they were going to win the division. I really did.
I thought but on paper going into the season, you look at all the what they had, and then you look at it now, and I mean, just the dynamic of this to only put up little points and give up so many at home against any team is bad enough. But I mean, RG3 now benched for possibly the remainder of the season. Shanahan probably out as a coach.
See, he did that reversed. He should have benched him in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
right.
He really did that the wrong way.
That was not the time.
Yeah. But I mean, the Kansas City, Smith, did the same thing he always does, right? 137 yards, 2 touches. Not a lot of yards, right? I got you a couple touchdowns, though. That's points on the board. Obviously, Jamal Charles, the man.
Yeah.
151 yards rushing, touchdown, minimal carries, 19 carries. So he's almost running 10 yards a freaking carry against a beat up. What seems to me is a beat up Washington defense.
I don't think they're that beat up. I think they're just right now. I think the Redskins are playing very uninspired football because they just figure the season is done.
Yeah.
And they've got so many people arguing and bickering with each other.
The locker room's bad, so the play's going to be bad?
Yeah, so I just think that right now nobody wants to be there. And I think you're dealing with a lame duck coach. You're dealing with a prima donna quarterback right now that needs to grow up and grow up fast. And we've seen it with Cam Newton. Cam Newton has grown up in the last couple of years very well.
Right.
Hopefully RG3 has that same kind of maturity.
Yeah.
But right now
sure.
you're dealing with a prima donna quarterback that's bad-mouthing his own team. He's bad-mouthing his coach.
Yeah.
He's basically trying to assert himself as the alpha male of that entire franchise.
Right.
And I think it's leading to a lot of ill will in the locker room.
Right. Right. But is he the alpha male?
You pay him that much. You pick him that high.
What was his draft pick? What was it?
Number 2.
Number 2. It kind of gives you that kind of. I don't want to say but it does bolster your ego a little bit. I would think that I'm the number 2 pick. I am the future of this team. Listen to me. I don't know.
I think RG3 needs to ask himself every day, what would Russell Wilson do?
You know what I'll tell you? I'll tell you the truth. Russell Wilson, yes, he does it with class. And yeah, if you're RG3, ask yourself, what would Andrew Luck or Russell Wilson do? Because it's like both of them just play the game. They don't try to outshine everybody else.
Like you said, maturity. I guess there's some maturity he can glean from this season. Obviously bearing, what happened last season, as they went to the playoffs. Yeah. It's totally different dynamic, obviously. So, but just sad to see Washington just pretty much give up, pretty much done.
Look at how when they did all the press conferences after the game. Mm-hmm. It's like you notice how it always says FedEx Field and Redskins and that little light thing behind it. Yeah. The only person who did not have any of that lit up was Shanahan. It was dark while he was talking. That has to tell you something. That has to tell you something that he may not be here very much longer.
And it could not be.
Yeah, Sanders like, turn that stuff off.
I don't want him to know that he's a Redskin.
It's wasting our money. All right, and then last game, Atlanta and Green Bay. Now, obviously, we were talking about.
That's right.
we were.
I did not get the memo on the jersey, so I pulled this out of my car.
I didn't get the memo either, but this is my house. I have a jersey.
We will. Green Bay. I wrote them off. I still kind of write them off, to be honest. But they beat the Falcons and an inept Falcons team by a point. But in the NFL, a win's a win. And not bad stats. I mean, and Matt Flynn, 258 yards passing, 1 touch, 1 pick. Lacey, 20 carries for 65 yards and a touch. That's good for over 3 yards a carry, which is kind of what you want to see, obviously from the running back.
When you have no passing game, that's great.
When you have no passing game, right. And so, I guess if Green Bay, to me, wants to beat better teams than Atlanta, because obviously we can all agree Atlanta is absolute sorry this year.
Horrible.
And if they want to contend with other teams in order to, make it, so to speak, they got to run the ball more.
Well,
I mean, don't you think? I mean, don't you think they have to run the ball? You don't have the Mr. Rogers neighborhood is not there. Okay, he's on the bench. He's hurt.
Although he may be back.
He may be back
because he was almost back this week.
You've been saying that for 2-3 weeks.
Well, because the original report was 3 weeks he'd be out. But,
okay, but when he comes back, he's not going to be 100% Rogers.
Right.
You're
still better than Flynn.
You're going to get like a Sunny Delight, right? Part water, part orange juice, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you got. I say that you have to run the ball more, Lacey. I say give him the ball 30 to 35 times.
Here's the problem: is if they don't respect the pass with Matt Flynn, they've got the box loaded with everybody. They may have a safety back, they may not. They bring everybody.
Right.
So then it's pointless to run the ball and get nothing. You've got a better shot audibly out of it and passing the ball.
Okay.
Well,
I'm not saying don't audible, but I don't know. That's my take. We've seen Flynn, and he has these like glimmers. I mean, sometimes he goes out there and you're like, get him off the field, and then other times you're like, thank you, and so. Which is funny because that man has been living out of a suitcase all season. I mean, I've never seen a man travel so much in the NFL in one season.
He's got to be the richest traveling man.
I tell you what, dude.
He made a ton of money.
His expense report must be huge. Like, hey, by the way, I had to charge that hotel. I stayed there, and I got those dinners, so just to let you know. But, I mean...
His taxes are going to be a mess.
No thanks. But, so... I mean, what do you think? Do you think you have Flynn throw the ball? I mean, obviously they get Rodgers back. We're back to a little bit of a dynamic of football in Green Bay.
You get Rodgers back and you have both safeties back is what happens. And then there's only 7 in the box for Lacey to deal with. And that's how he gets all his success.
Okay.
Right now they don't need to respect that.
But let's say do you make the playoffs?
Who do we play next week?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Their team. I don't know.
Does Green Bay?
You're the one wearing their hat, not me.
Does Green Bay make the playoffs, and do they do anything afterwards, Randy?
That's all depend. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. The more and more I'm looking at that division, I'll tell you the truth. It's like the more and more I look at that horrible, horrible division. Green Bay, if they get back Aaron Rodgers, that team could end up going 9-6-1. So you could actually see them pull this off. Their next game is at Dallas.
That's winnable.
That is winnable with Aaron Rodgers.
If Rodgers is back.
If it's Matt Flynn, no, it's not winnable. It's not winnable with Tolzien. It's not winnable with Mikowski if you can bring him back. And Favre if he decides.
The greatest mediocre quarterback ever.
And Brett Favre, I don't think would even have any magic in that game. But it's like if the Green Bay Packers get in the playoffs, that is a tough out because Aaron Rodgers is
a stud,
one of the elite of the elite.
He is phenomenal.
And if he's there with Lacey and his wide receivers, that is a tough out. And I guarantee you do not want to face the Green Bay Packers in the first round of the playoffs.
Anybody though?
I would say you would not because it won't be Seattle that will have to face them in the first round of the playoffs. It'll be
San Fran, won't it?
If Green Bay is the division winner, which is how they'd have to get in there, then it would probably be like a San Francisco. But I still say Green Bay. In Green Bay, can you imagine playing on Lambeau Field with that cold weather and be in San Francisco having to come into that? That would be kind of mean because San Francisco will have a better record, but Aaron Rodgers is the better quarterback. You would take him every time over Kaepernick.
I will take him every time over Kaepernick.
Next week is going to be the telling week. Green Bay plays Dallas, as we said.
Yeah.
And Detroit plays Baltimore. That's the only game I see left on the schedule that they could still lose.
Right.
Yeah.
Because after that they play the Giants in Minnesota. So next week is the pivotal week because if Detroit loses and the Packers win, then they're back in the driver's seat.
Then they're flip-flopping back to...
They're back on top. If Detroit wins, because the Packers need to win out and they need Detroit to lose one more game. So that's next week is where we'll figure it out.
Wow. I mean, to be honest, it's surprising to me. The Packers still have this shot. I mean, I'll be honest. It's
after
surprising.
losing 5 weeks in a row.
After losing not many games.
And he finally gave up on his team. He didn't pick them to win this week, and they won.
On his office pool, and they win. But I mean, it's amazing to me to that team hanging in there. I mean, it's absolutely impressive.
No, they're not hanging in there. Everybody in the NFC North
and I was going to say that.
Falling to them and saying, "Look, we don't want Green Bay to go away."
Well, we don't want to win
it.
Yeah, we don't want to win it, obviously. So the rest of you teams in that division
we don't
suck.
want to face San Francisco.
That's what happens. All right, so we're going to talk about some teams that we feel we've each picked one team. We have no idea who each one picked except this guy over here. But we each picked one team, and we're giving them 3 moves to make in order to be a contender or better than they are going into next season. And Rolf, I'll turn it over to you. What team do you have, and what moves would you make in order to make them a better team, a contender?
I picked the NFC North, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have picked the Packers, but they wouldn't let me. All you gotta do is keep Aaron Rodgers upright.
That's it. That was a
all you
simple
gotta
do. What do you got?
You're a contender.
All right. So we'll go with the Minnesota Vikings, who I hate.
Wow.
So what? So you're gonna trade away. You're gonna trade away Adrian Peterson. You're gonna trade away because you want to.
You trade away for Aaron Rodgers.
All right, Minnesota. This ought to be good.
This is realistic.
I mean, this is from a rival perspective, which is impressive. So
I'm telling you right now, he's gonna ask them to bring all women onto the team.
What?
The first female team to play in the NFL.
Minnesota.
So the Vikings, I looked at this.
Okay.
They have the worst total defense in the league in points and in yards. I think they're second worst in one of the two, but bottom of the league.
So they are terrible.
I thought it was all Christian Ponder, but when I looked at it, it's not.
That's true. I would think it's Christian Ponder.
There's not many quarterbacks that could win with that defense.
That's true.
So I
ask RG3.
Yeah, I thought maybe just replacing Christian Ponder because that offense would probably be great.
Yeah.
It could be great. You get Greg Jennings, Cordarrelle Patterson, Eifert, I think, is the tight end, and you got Adrian Peterson and Gerhardt.
Toby.
Toby Gerhardt.
I mean, that could be formidable with a great quarterback, but even with an average quarterback, it should be good enough to win. But when your defense is the worst in the league and everything,
wow, I did not realize.
Yeah. So here's what you do.
I love this. Here's what you do.
It's written right here.
Minnesota fans.
Did you actually
and
write?
GMs.
Here's what you do.
Yes, here's what you do.
Yeah.
That's right there.
So you have 2 starting cornerbacks.
Okay.
Josh Robinson, 2 years in the league, 2 interceptions total. Chris Cook, 4 years in the league, 0 interceptions total for 4 years.
Wow.
Are you kidding me?
Wow.
Come on.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
That's bad.
There are 2 safeties. Jamarcus Sanford, I don't even know who that guy is. 5 years in the league, 2 interceptions. Andrew Sandejo, 3 years in the league, 1 interception. You can't possibly win games without getting turnovers from your secondary. They can't cover anybody. You've got the worst pass defense in the league. Come on.
That's bad. That's bad. So, okay.
So you go out like the Packers did the last 2 years, wholesale defensive draft choices. Someone's got to come out of there. better than these guys.
Draft. Okay, so you go to the draft for DBs.
Yes.
For anything, really. That's like anything defense. But
yeah.
Their front 7 isn't horrible.
It's not horrible, but Kevin Williams is 33.
Shit.
He's their starting defensive tackle. Jared Allen's 31, and he's slowing down, too.
He's slowing down. Jared Allen's slowing down.
But he's still one of the better defensive ends in the league, and if he's on a better defense, he might be a little bit more effective.
Yeah.
That's true.
But given the fact that they can't cover anybody, everybody's probably wide open.
Yeah. It's just like, I can get rid of the ball quick because Jared Allen he's coming, but it's like, that's all right because none of the cornerbacks are going to take the ball anyway.
If you lose the rest of the season, and you get that number 1 pick, you get Jadeveon Clowney.
But you know what? But you know that most of the drafts, because I looked at some of the mock drafts. Most of the mock drafts, they have the first pick being Teddy Bridgewater. No matter who ends up with it, they're saying Teddy Bridgewater is the first pick.
Well,
I mean, Jadeveon Clowney is slipping down the draft. It seems like every time I look, he is slipping down the draft, and I think he is a stud defensive end.
And that even plays better into their, because they don't have the number 1 pick right now.
Right.
That plays into that hand.
Or maybe they trade up.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll have to. I think Jadeveon Clowney, wherever they are, Jadeveon Clowney will be there for them.
What hurts them right now is that one tie with Green Bay, because there's like 3 other teams that have 3 wins, but they have less losses than the other teams because they have that one tie.
Right.
And here's your last fix.
Yeah.
Is there's probably going to be a better game manager out there in the offseason.
Right.
You could probably pick up a better game manager, quarterback, and improve that offense like worlds.
Yeah. Get a better quarterback.
Christian Ponder, I think, is the 30th ranked quarterback in the league.
Yeah.
Which is weird because Matt Schaub is like 31.
Yeah. Right.
But I still think Matt Schaub is better than Christian Ponder.
But they brought in Freeman. Does Freeman really have a shot at making this team next year and playing?
I don't know how he's looked at all. I mean, I don't.
I mean, he got the one concussion.
I hate this team, so I don't really look at them.
Right. But I mean, quarterback. I mean, yeah, but Ponder, he's not the answer. I don't feel like he's the answer.
Ponder's not the answer. Well, I don't feel that Freeman's the answer either, but I think Freeman is better than Ponder. And I think once Freeman learns that offense, he gives Adrian Peterson a better chance than Ponder does at really putting up big numbers.
I mean, with Adrian Peterson, everybody should be wide open on a play action fake.
Everybody, because it's like there's 11 in the box because nobody respects Ponder.
Right. I don't understand how they're not passing. He doesn't have better numbers.
Right.
Because Ponder can't pass.
With Jennings and Cordarrelle Patterson.
I would hire Tebow for that team.
Yeah, that is pretty bad. That is pretty bad. All right, so obviously defense suspect when it comes to stopping anybody on the pass. Yeah. They obviously don't.
No.
They obviously don't have any takeaways, so they don't take away the ball.
No.
So that when you play the Minnesota defense, you're not worried about throwing those interceptions, fumbling the ball in this team. They don't even go after the ball. They're pretty inept, pretty bad.
Yeah. I mean, any quarterback would struggle with that defense. I think, unless I don't know who else.
Right.
Well, I mean, you pointed it out early. Denver has the 26th ranked defense. Peyton Manning does pretty good, 11-2. So I mean, there are some quarterbacks that can't just Christian.
But it's few and far between.
It's Tom Brady. It's Tom Brady. It's
Yeah.
Peyton Manning. It's Aaron Rodgers that can deal with bad defenses and still win.
I mean, the Packers defense is horrible.
Packers defense is terrible. Aaron Rodgers can do it.
Yeah, you see it now.
Yeah. So that is that's pretty amazing.
I mean, Christian Ponder's not elite, so we're making that assessment right now. We're saying that he is not elite.
Eli Manning would not be able to deal with this defense. You are not elite.
Yeah.
Elite.
Yeah.
Eli elite. I don't know.
He says he is.
He says he is.
All right. So
there you have it.
There you have it. So next year, hopefully, if we see a new quarterback with the help.
If we see Minnesota go all defense with their picks, that's because they watched our show.
You might start winning games.
And I will feel really bad.
The GM of Minnesota is watching this right now. He's sitting there going, "Oh, defense! I can do that. I can draft all defensive players."
You heard it from a Packer fan.
There you go. All right.
Sabotage.
Get over to Randy on his team to make certain moves to be a contender.
All right, I picked the Green Bay Packers. No.
Gosh, I was like, you can't pick the same thing. All right.
No, I had the NFC South. I decided to go with the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, wow.
Because I feel that this team last year was one game away from the Super Bowl.
Yes.
They lose one wide receiver and seem to fall apart. So I feel that this team just needs a few pieces.
I felt like they fell apart before that.
No, they didn't fall apart before that. They beat the Seahawks. I remember that game. I remember that Seattle's defense couldn't stop Matt Ryan.
Now everyone can stop Matt Ryan.
Now everybody can stop Matt Ryan. Actually, Matt Ryan is not doing that bad. He has thrown for 3,600 yards.
Okay.
He's got 21 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. He's been sacked 31 times. That's in the top half of the league of being sacked. So he's put on his back quite a bit.
Wow.
I
mean,
mean,
he's under pressure. So I mean, that's not counting the hurries or anything.
Yes. And I mean, you're talking Tannehill. Tannehill is the most harassed. He's got 48. He's been knocked down to the ground and sacked.
Wow.
But Matt Ryan still, he's not being protected. That offensive line is not very good.
Right.
This is also a team, they got Steven Jackson.
Yeah.
They rank 30th in rushing. 30th out of 32 NFL teams.
Wow. So no running game.
No running game to help Matty. They did better last year with, what's his face?
Turner.
They did better with him last year.
That's amazing.
So you blame it on the offensive line.
I blame the offensive line for...
That's what I hear.
I'm hearing a lot of blame on the offensive line.
The offensive line is... There's a center that hikes the ball and that's it.
It's like the offensive... the offensive...
Up one, everyone fall.
Everybody just let him go get Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really, they're going to have about the third or fourth pick in the draft as it sits right now.
Yeah.
There is an offensive tackle named Jake Matthews out of Texas A&M.
Yeah.
This is the guy they should get. This is the guy that can protect your quarterback for the next 10 years, protect his blind side. They say that this guy is a stud. Now, there are some that have him going up as high as number 2.
Wow.
But if he slips down or...
Because the other teams don't need it.
Yeah, because, you got Jadeveon Clowney, you got Bridgewater, you've got this guy Barr, that linebacker that's really good. So I really see that Jake Matthews could slip back to the 4th spot and give them a great offensive tackle. They need somebody to anchor that line because you've got Matt Ryan there for the next, 6-7 years? You gave him that contract, so you better protect him.
Yeah.
Basically, I kind of looked at that rushing attack is 30th.
Yeah.
I said,
weak sauce.
So I started looking at some unrestricted free agents that you could pick up next season.
Right.
Ben Tate, very underrated running back behind Arian Foster. Now, he's having a tough time in Houston recently because his quarterbacks are awful.
Yeah.
But Ben Tate is a bruising running back up the middle, and he's got a little bit of speed, and he is a guy you want to put down on the goal line.
Right.
I feel you can get him for relatively no money. You can pay him, you can get him for $2-3 million a year and get him for 5 years, and you'll have a solid running back there to give Matt Ryan, a younger running back, to kind of help with that really bad rushing attack. And you get some offensive line help in the draft.
Right.
Now then I looked at their defense. They have the 26th ranked defense in the league. 26th. That's not good. Well, why are they 26th? They're not putting a pass rush on. They are 27th in sacks.
Wow.
So they don't get to the quarterback.
Wow.
So I figured, here's a free agent signing. I know we talked about it a little bit.
Did they lose a couple of guys on defense?
They lost Abraham. They lost their one defensive guy that really could get in there. Now they have Babineau, but Babineau is an unrestricted free agent, so he could be gone.
Right.
But there's another unrestricted free agent from the Minnesota Vikings, Jared Allen.
Yeah.
I feel that Jared Allen could go to that defense
and provide
a pass rush that they really do need, because I think Jared Allen still has 2-3 more good years under his belt. You could get him. You're going to have to pay to get him.
Right.
But I feel like he would improve that defense tremendously because he will put pressure on the quarterback.
Right. Jared Allen only has 7 sacks this year.
But he's playing on the worst defense in the NFL. So this is the 26th ranked defense. Slightly better.
It's a step up.
It's a step up. And Jared Allen, I think, would make them, I think he would vastly improve that defense.
Right.
Because he's got a high motor. He's a motivator. Teammates like him. Mm-hmm. You bring him to a new locker room. I think that would energize that defense a lot.
Mm. I don't know about Jared Allen. I don't know. I'm skeptical on that one. You?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we need some more young blood over there.
Yeah, I wouldn't go for... We've seen picking up the aging veterans just doesn't always pan out.
Yeah.
It did for the Broncos with Neil Smith.
It did with Neil Smith, but we had all the other pieces together, though.
I know, but you have to start somewhere, and you have to get the Atlanta fans excited about coming back to see this team, because right now they're not very excited about what they're seeing. You bring in a defensive end like Jared Allen, they know that name. Right. That name makes them happy. That name will charge them up.
Right, right.
And I still believe, that Jared Allen has 3 good years at least where he could get double digits in sacks, and make your defense a lot better than being 26. Because it's not the worst defense in the NFL. It's not Minnesota's. They just need a couple pieces to push them forward. I think Jared Allen is one of them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, defense, obviously, they need pass rush.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we can agree on that. Pass rush for the Falcons. When you think pass rush, you're not thinking of the Atlanta Falcons defense. Not at all. You know, and so, yeah, they do need help on that line. by all means. By all means. And obviously on both lines, it sounds like. Offensive line as well.
Yeah.
Offensive line is Swiss cheese.
It's like, to me, that's where it's like if you're going to build a future franchise, you start with the offense and the defensive line. Those are your anchors. It's like if you have a great defensive line, a great offensive line, they can mask a lot of the other problems because it's like if your quarterback is staying upright, as we find out poor Aaron Rodgers doesn't get to because his offensive line is terrible.
Right.
But it's like if you can make a bad quarterback look better just by keeping him upright because he has more time to throw, and a great defensive line will go in. They will sack the quarterback, put pressure on the other quarterback. He has to get rid of the ball. More turnovers, your defense starts to look better.
Yeah.
Well, your offensive line should be a priority no matter what. That's what everything is based on.
Yeah.
But
a lot of teams, you don't see them really, they don't really address it. They try to get a left tackle, and then you forget that there's 4 other guys that are sitting there with them.
Yeah. No, I hear you. That, obviously, those are some great moves. So, pick up somebody, offensive line, possibly through the draft, defense, and running, possibly some free agents there. Steven Jackson's not panning out.
No, I think he's too injury prone, and he might be past it.
It might be over. Might be over Steven Jackson. So, wow. Cool. So, sounds like we got offensive line, defensive backs. So it's kind of interesting to see some of the holes in these areas of these teams where, obviously they clearly lack some other areas where, it's funny, the Falcons, no running game. Minnesota, a huge running game.
No
but they can't figure out how to get certain other players to complement the rest of the team in order to help, that whole dynamic over there.
I tell you what, if you're the GM of Minnesota, trade me Adrian Peterson.
There you go. That's impressive.
I'll give you my first round pick.
There you go. No, and that's
I'll
awesome.
give you Toby Gerhart.
Okay, I'll give you my 7th round pick.
Not even that. 12th round. They don't even make it. That's awesome.
I'll give you a restricted free agent. How about that?
That's awesome. So the team I picked is the Houston Texans. This team last year, phenomenal. 11-2, I believe, around this time. They only lost a couple of games. They were going into the, taking pretty much everyone by storm. And you saw it. You saw how they played. Schaub, Johnson, Foster, the whole dynamic. Even Tate was getting into the work last year.
They slumped at the end.
They slumped. That's right. They ran out of gas. This year, not looking so good. Yeah, not looking so good for the Texans. So, couple of moves that the Texans need to make.
But they will get the first pick in the draft.
They will. And there's been speculations, do they draft a quarterback? I don't think there's a quarterback in the draft that'll go to Texas that'll help them win right away. The wild card is if, in fact, he does go in the draft, and that is Johnny.
Because football?
They've been talking about Johnny going in the draft this year, and the Texans, and the speculation is the Texans do pick them up. I don't think they need someone like that, personally. I think they just need someone that can sit back there, shotgun formation, and throw the football. You have a lot of weapons already. We already have Andre Johnson, obviously. We already have the wideout that came up, DeAndre Hopkins. Phenomenal. Ben Tate, like you were saying, great runner. Aaron Foster, when he's healthy. Awesome. You have a good offensive caliber team. What you are missing, though, is similar to Minnesota, similar to a lot of teams, is that quarterback. This one, I say you pick them up possibly in free agent. There's going to be a number of free agent quarterbacks. Possibility here, I don't know if it would work out 100%, but I'm thinking a quarterback's going to sling the ball 35 times, 40 times easily, and it'll help you showcase the run, and that'd be like a Jay Cutler.
Someone's a free agent this year.
Exactly. So someone like that you could pick up, right? I think personally he would bloom very well over there in that kind of offensive scheme. Now, the other area, obviously, that they're rough on is their defense. But then again, I don't believe they run the right defense. They run a 3-4.
Do they really?
Yep. Hence the. They only have one defensive end, two defensive ends, defensive tackles, and a lot of okay linebackers. Listen to these linebackers: Brooks Reed, Daryl Sharpton, Joe Mays, and wing Whitney. I don't even know. I can't even say his last name.
Did they have an all-star linebacker? Was it Cushing?
No.
No, remember, he got hurt.
Cushing got hurt.
Yeah, Cushing got hurt.
Right.
He keeps getting hurt, and he's a great linebacker.
Great linebacker. But the rest of them, suspect.
Joe Mays, that's the former Bronco, isn't it?
Exactly.
The fire hydrant.
I haven't heard about him since he was with the Broncos, obviously. I didn't even know he was still in the
fire hydrant.
So you have your suspect in linebackers right there, and obviously your defensive tackle, Earl Mitchell and Terrell McLean, they're not exactly
household names.
Scaring people on that defensive line. However, you go to the corners, and you got Kareem Jackson, Jonathan Joseph. We know Joseph, stud, strong safety of DJ Swearinger, free safety Keogh. So I think personally on the defensive side, I say you get a defensive-minded head coach. They just lost Kubiak. I say you get Lovie Smith. I say you get someone that knows how to build a defense, similar to what they did over there in Chicago.
You can take Dom Capers.
Don't think
he runs a 3-4 in Green Bay.
That's why
he's trying to get away from the 3-4.
That's what I think you need to do over there is you need to get a defensive-minded coach. You have all the offensive tools just about. You just need that quarterback position filled. I say you pick up a free agent that's a gunslinger, like a Jay Cutler. We know he's a gunslinger. I say you do something like that. That changes the Texans team, and they'll have confidence with a Jay Cutler rather than a Matt Schaub. That Schaub has always been shaky for like the last 3 years.
Yeah.
It's been shaky for him. So that's
he's
my
one of those
take.
Game managers that.
Yeah.
I mean, as long as there's strong defense and they're playing with a lead, he's got the strong running game. He's better at finding people open than Christian Ponder is.
Right.
And remember, it's like Rolf last week was pining for Matt Schaub over Matt Flynn.
I would totally take Matt Schaub.
Yeah. Now the one trade I would say that they should do, and I think they have to do it. The other team has to do it. But I say the Redskins trading off their backup quarterback over there, because that'd be huge.
Well, they might want their backup quarterback to be their starter.
You don't know though. You don't know because obviously the head coach will probably be gone, and that's good trade bait. I mean, they obviously drafted RG3 to be the franchise leader, and Cousins not too bad. Not too bad. I say if I'm the Texans, I go to them. I ask them, what is this man going to cost me? Because that guy can throw the ball. That'd be my perfect scenario for Houston. Bring him over and see what they can do. I would personally, if it was me, I would go after Cousins.
That's who Minnesota should be going after too.
Yeah, if I'm looking for a quarterback on the radar.
That's not who Atlanta should be going after.
That's who I'm going after. That's who I'm going after.
I need a running back. I need Adrian Peterson.
Picture this: with the Houston's with the first pick in the draft, pick up to David Clowney and have J.J. Watt, and Jadeveon Clowney together coming around the. Dude.
Well, and that would be scary. But like I said, every mock draft I've seen has them going after Teddy Bridgewater. Now, I don't know. The scouts absolutely love this guy because it's like they have basically said that he is going to be a quarterback of the future.
Yeah. Is
Teddy Bridgewater. So I mean, if you're trying to win right now, no, you don't want a rookie quarterback.
Right.
You would want somebody maybe like a Jay Cutler, but Jay Cutler hasn't really won anything.
True.
Yet. I mean, he gets injured a lot. Yeah. He makes a lot of bad throws. He's not a game manager. He's a gunslinger, but he's not as good as Brett Favre. He's not as good of a gunslinger as Favre. He's not a legendary gunslinger. He's just kind of a...
Right.
He just throws it up there.
Yeah.
He's just like, oh, I'm tired of standing behind my offensive line. I'm going to throw it right now.
Right. Well, that's why I think
Brandon Marshall.
With Cousins, I think it'd be phenomenal having him over there because that guy, with already a year under his belt, he's already understands football, NFL, speed. I don't need to worry about the rookie quarterback coming in.
But here's the thing with Kirk Cousins. Do we see another Matt Flynn emerge? This was a 4th-round pick. Kirk Cousins was a 4th. Let's not forget that he was a 4th-round pick. There were 3 full rounds where people said, I don't need him, and I'm going to keep passing him up.
No,
so,
I agree.
And Shanahan just kind of reached out there for him after picking up RG3.
Yeah.
And people said, well, why did you do that?
Yeah.
So, I mean... I agree. Kirk Cousins should get a shot somewhere else.
Yeah.
It's just he, to me, is still a young quarterback, and you would still be kind of having to take that step back because he's only played in like maybe 1 or 2 real games. Unless we get to see him in the last 3 games, I would like to see what kind of a dynamic he brings to the table.
Right.
Yeah.
But right now, I would just kind of worry that, I think a lot of teams would be kind of suspect. It's like, okay, I'm not going to fall for the Matt Flynn thing again. Right. One good game does not make a great quarterback.
True. But it does help when you have a man named Andre Johnson.
It does, but will Andre Johnson still want to stay there, or is he going to be start begging for a trade because he doesn't want to play in that environment anymore?
And that remains to be seen. We'll see what happens. We'll be back here Week 15 NFL, see how the wild card situation is looking. We're out. Thank you.